Hi guys, Tracy here from AC Technology. I'm here with Brittany.
Hey.
And we're going to be showing you a comparison between the T1X2 and the T1X3. We get a lot of requests on what is the difference between the T1X2 and the T1X3, and we're going to answer a lot of those questions. When do you want to use the T1X2? When do you want to use the T1X3? Brittany's going to go over kind of the specs on the two tugs and tell you all about those.
All right, so these two tugs are both identical in a lot of ways, except for the cradles and the weight, of course. This is a T1X2, that's a T1X3. They're both going to be 31 inches in length. They're going to be 24 inches width. This is 5.5 inches height, and that's 7.5 inches height. They both have the same tracks, the same style tracks. It's 4 inches wide, and they're the same length as well. T1X2 weighs 77 pounds. The T1 weighs 100 pounds. Inside the box, the T1X2 will weigh 122 pounds with everything included, and the T1X3 will weigh 150 pounds.
Good. Okay, and like Brittany was saying, the main difference, or really the only difference, is the cradle. And so if you want to see specifically what a T1X2 can do, we do have a video showing that, and it's really well suited for planes with fairings and multiple different planes. If you have one with a fairing and one without a fairing, very well suited for that. The T1X3 will not work with a fairing. We'll explain that. I'll explain that in just a minute. But the reason it won't is the cradle is kind of high. So what you would want to use this one on, though, is a plane that has very sensitive steering limits. The Meridian, the Malibus, those have a very sensitive steering limit. So if you compromise the limit, it's going to cost you thousands of dollars, and definitely well worth the investment to get the upgrade to the T1X3. Under the hood, these things are identical. We have a 24-volt battery. We've got two AC brushless motors, and we've got the planetary 16-to-1 planetary gearboxes. The T1X3 is identical underneath. So you can see it's exactly the same thing. This one's got a little bit older battery in it, but it is the exact same setup. So it really comes down to the cradle. And I will show you the difference between the cradles right now. Okay, so just a quick review of the T1X2 cradle. What this has is an adjustable cradle, but it does not have the ability to turn around. So what that means is I can adjust this thing way down to clear if you have wheel pants. If you have wheel pants, if you have a Cirrus, if you have a 182, Archer, anything with wheel pants, this is going to be a better choice than the T1X3. You can lower this down, and if you do not have wheel pants, this is a good choice as well. It can be raised up so that it grabs the tire very well. It's a little less expensive than the T1X3, so if you're not worried about stressing your steering limits, this T1X2 is really a good choice. It's more versatile because it can work with wheel pants and because it will work with any plane that has retractable or non-wheel pant or tail wheel as well.
And it's the most popular.
It is our most popular. We sell more of these than anything else. Okay, so the T1X3 is a little bit different in the fact that it has this Lazy Susan. And people ask, well, what is the Lazy Susan? What this is a turntable. Let me turn it on. I can unlatch it so you can see. So the turntable allows the wheel to turn 360 degrees. So I can be underneath the plane with this, and I can turn the tug, and I'm not going to have to worry about the steering limits on the plane, on the front wheel, turning too far and compromising the steering limits. So that's what the Lazy Susan is. That gives you 360 degrees rotation. also got the ability to lock it so it doesn't rotate, and I just locked it from the remote. And then the ability to lower it down, and this would be for loading and unloading. Now this cradle has a few adjustments on it, not as many as a T1X2, but it will handle up to a 6x6, and there's a combination of rollers. There's this roller here, and you can put this at different locations on the cradle to accommodate a smaller wheel, or you can take this one out altogether and it would work for a 6x6, which is the biggest it can handle. And we do have these side adjusters, and we have them on the T1X2 as well, to allow you to adjust for the width of the tire. So very easy to adjust. You just pull these pins out, adjust it to where you want it, and then put the pins back in. So that's what the Lazy Susan is right there. It's a little bit higher than the T1X2, so obviously it's not going to work with wheel pans. Now I want to explain just what the difference is between the radio as well. There's a little bit of difference in the radio between the T1X2 and the T1X3. And it's really mainly just this bottom button right here. On the T1X3, you've got a 3-position switch. And I'm going to show you what the 3-position switch does on the cradle. That controls all the functions on the cradle. So in the up position, it is fully rotating. You can go 360 degrees. And then when you have it in the middle position, it locks it in the loading and unloading position, which is that position right there. And then the other position is a temporary, and you push it, and you have to have the weight off of the front, so you have to push this just a little bit with your wheel, and it'll release and allow the cradle to come down. So in this position, it can't rotate because the cradle's down. And then once you load, if the switch is in the middle position, it still can't rotate. And then when you want to rotate, you just shift it to the up position, and now you've got full rotation. The other switches are exactly the same on the T1X3. You've got the light switch, and then you've got a rabbit and turtle mode switch, which is fast, medium, and slow. So in the fast mode is probably where you're going to be wanting to run it most of the time. You put it in the medium and slow mode only when you're going straight and you want to go into a tight area and you want to make sure you don't go too fast. But to be honest with you, you can go slow in the fast mode, just push the remote or the joystick just a little bit less. And so that's the remote. They both have the charger port on the side, and they have a light. And this light is green when it's charging, and then it goes out once it's done charging. So you can leave the charger on here all the time, and when it's done charging, the light will go out. And then, of course, you have the on-off switch, and then you've got a little loop here for holding the lanyard. So that's the remote for the T1X3, and Brittany will go over the remote for the T1X2.
All right, guys, so I'm going to just go ahead and explain the T1X2 remote. As you saw from Tracy's remote, it's just a little bit different. The only difference on this one is, since they both have lights, they both have the light switch. If you don't have lights on your model, you'll see that it's going to come with a plug. It'll probably be a black little plug that we just stick there so that there's no point of having a switch that does nothing. This just has a button that you just want to push. So once you load up the plain tire, you're going to make sure it latches. Now there's no way that it's going to move down since it's latched. And all you'll do pretty much is, let me turn it on first. All you'll do pretty much when you're ready to unload is you're going to put pressure, as we explained in the video of the T1X2, you're going to put pressure against the back end here with your tire, push the button, and it's going to go ahead and drop forward. Pretty simple. All right, so I'm here and I'm going to demonstrate the T1X2 on our Epsilon here. And so I'll show you a little bit of a difference on what you're going to expect when you have a T1X2. So we're pretty much going to load it up here. We're going to load it up, center, put it in the center of the wheel. All right, we're pretty much locked in right there. I saw the latch come up, and if I try to go back, it's not going to roll out. So we're going to pull the plane out here. And with this tug, the main difference is that it doesn't have the Lazy Susan. And what we have to watch for is the turn limits here. We have a stop in the front of the main nose wheel. So we'll just watch that as we're pulling the plane out. Gradually turn the plane around and make like a little arc. Out here we have a lot of space, so it's not a big deal, but when you're
So now I'm going to show you how the T1X3 handles this same maneuver. The thing you'll notice with the Lazy Susan is we'll be able to do a lot more radical moves, sharp turns, and it's a lot more maneuverable. So let's see what it looks like. So the loading's kind of the same. Basically, you just load up to the wheel, and you don't give it a lot of, you don't ram it by any means. You just motor right up on until it's locked in place. Once it's locked in place, then you can tow right out. And I'm just going to tow straight out into the alleyway here. I still have the Lazy Susan locked in place, so it will not turn, and basically it's like a T1X2 right now. But what I can do is once I'm ready to do some maneuvering, I can release the Lazy Susan, so now it's released to turn, and I can turn 90 degrees underneath the airplane, and then I can just rotate this thing right on itself. Got to be careful not to hit myself with the tail. But I mean, you can see just how maneuverable this thing is. Very, very maneuverable. So once I get into the position I want to tow, or to be able, I can put the Lazy Susan back into the home position. And unlock. Oops, unlock it. And unlock it to fly. So you can see just how maneuverable that is with the Lazy Susan. With the T1X2, you don't have the ability to do that kind of rotating around that we did on this one. So that's the big difference. If you need that capability, T1X3 is for you. If you don't need that capability, definitely go for the T1X2. It's a lot more universal if you've got those wheel pants. So that's what we got for you. I hope you've enjoyed the video with the comparison of the T1X2 and the T1X3. And let's, if we have any feedback from you, that's good. We'll try to address any feedback in future videos. Thank you. Okay. So what we're going to do is just a little test here to see if these two are exactly identical on speed, and they should be. Everything's identical except for the Lazy Susan and the cradle. So let's see how these things work. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, go. You're going to do the T1X2. I'm going to do the T1X3. Anthony's going to catch us coming across the finish line down there. So
you want to go catch us down there? It's
on the mark. You're going to run down there? Okay. And this is going to be the end right there at the line. Okay, perfect.
Going to be the judge.
Okay, here we go. On your mark, get set, go.